Welcome back here at Goldberg. Today we'll be talking about the infamous Oofy Doofy theory, which is typically proffered by those attempting to push back against the black pill and its assumptions about human behavior when it comes to mating. I just want to start with the fact this is a cringe term. You sound like some suburbanite mom where the kid skinned his knee and you're like,
Oh, you got an oofy doofy? Here's a band-aid and a lollipop and a sex change. It'll all be fine.
yet you got these grown-ass dudes who have tied up their whole sense of self-worth with Oofy Doofy being correct because I guess it's ego projection. They want to believe they're going to have a chance in the dating market when you just need to take a step back, remove your emotions, and look at human behavior and how ultimately most relationships have some transactional elements. This is not terribly controversial unless you're stuck in a fantasy world of Cinderella, whatever that might be. Ostensibly, the Oofy Doofy proponents are saying ugly, really subpar men are getting attractive women, and some will even claim that Chad is viewed as this pervert and sexual predator, so he has to stay at home and beat off all day, but Oofy Doofies are winning the future. Uh, this is something that I just don't see. Admittedly, I live in a rural area, but I work in a more densely populated zone, and I occasionally go out to the city. I don't see this like the way they're saying. Maybe we have different opinions of what constitutes an oofy doofy male. I'll give you what I think is a decent composite. The audio is off because it would just be needlessly distracting. Talking about this guy right here. So, fat face, oversized nose, big glasses, man beeves, not hugely tall in this case. I guess he's okay. I don't see guys like that, or even the white equivalent, getting attractive women, or getting many women at all. Now, what I do see is dudes who are like slightly below or average, slightly above, who will be with a looks match, or in the case of white dudes, it's more common. It might be 1 or 2 points higher with an ethnic chick, but there's reasons for that. And in no way, shape, or form does it eliminate a lot of the arguments behind the black pill, because the black pill is multifaceted. And this is where all these clowns who promote Oofy Doofy, they don't actually want to pay attention to what's going on because it's too complicated. They went to public school, outcome-based education. We're all used to this from them, but it's not helpful if you're trying to learn. So let me just talk about some of the examples that could potentially endorse this from what I've seen. There's a couple that I know. The guy is Caucasian. He's got the kind of Colin Hanks ears, nose juts out a bit. He's not a complete chin cell, but he doesn't have a square jaw. I did see a legit female chin cell about a month ago. I was in the store. She was working there. She had like no chin at all, really round, chubby cheeks, and then like a long beak. So I kind of felt bad. I was like, I should have brought some bird seed. No, that's terrible. She was actually really cool. She saw the price on one of the items I got, and she said, man, us consumers were just getting ripped off. And she works there, which was awesome. So she's a cool person. But he's not the best looking dude. His wife is this very white Hispanic chick. Like, besides the eyes, she would essentially be white or Italian passing, let's say. Uh, not an amazing figure, but a cute girl next door type, right? No one's gonna, ignore her if she's in a room. She say, that disproves the black pill, Goldberg. How do you feel? Actually, I feel great. I've been having a fantastic day. What I haven't told you is that she's between 5'3" by my estimates. This guy has blue eyes, by the way, is at least 6'3", if not 6'4". And I have a pretty good sense of that because I'm 6'2" myself. So, I can make comparisons. Um, Guys are, oh, height doesn't matter. I know a guy who's tall and doesn't get women. Sure, you can be a guy who's tall, you don't wear fitted clothes, and you're really awkward, and you can come off as creepy. But height does matter because most women, unless they're into powerlifting, most women want a guy who's bigger than them so they can feel vulnerable. They want a guy who can easily pick them up. Sorry, I know you guys date land whales, it's hard to do, but they like that sense that they can actually be vulnerable and feminine, okay? Matters a great deal. Also, the fact that the dude is Caucasian, I mean, let's be real. From the perspective of migrant communities, if your kid ends up with a white person, means that the offspring, if they have, let's say, grandkids, are going to be lighter tone, might have blue eyes, which the assumption is they'll be better treated in society. This is why you see even so many black people obsessed with companionship with whites, because they probably recognize at some level their offspring will have a better chance. Whether you agree with that or not, it's something that seems to be fairly prominent in society. Another example that I've come across is you've got this pretty tall, nerdy blonde. She's roughly the same looks as this Hispanic chick. Not much of a figure, but cute. And she's with this not jacked or ripped, anything like that. Short, glasses wearing, incel looking dude, probably of Taiwanese or Chinese descent. And you say, oh, yeah, that's really disproving it. Well, you have to understand, both of these people, if you interact with them, are severely on the spectrum, big time, like weird people, okay? That's probably one of those context examples I discussed in the Exceptions to the Black Pill, the book I wrote, Understanding Overcoming the Black Pill, where maybe they were childhood friends, sweethearts going to Autism University, or they worked together in the STEM lab, and there were only two people that were that age, whatever it could be. So they're together and they might end up maybe marrying, having some socially awkward kids. That's fine. That doesn't necessarily disprove the black pill, however, because what occurs, let's say, if Changtism or Chadsburgers steals a girl away from this dude, and you put him on a dating app, or you put him, out at a night venue running clown game, is he going to be able to get a chick anywhere near that? Is he going to be able to get a chick at all? You see, this is what you don't want to face because you're all wrapped up in your own fragile ego. That's why we'll have guys that have been like with their high school girlfriend, or they're, 22, 23. Oh yeah, I got a girl. That means the black pill's untrue. Well, what happens if she leaves you, even abruptly? Because women will do this. Women sometimes will marry. I mean, I knew a guy, he was married to a woman for about 10 years, had multiple kids. They had just gone on vacation, had a good time. He banged her a few times. Everything's kosher. And then they get back and she says, I'm leaving you. And this has happened. This happens in relationships as well. Now take the dude, put him out in the dating market. This particular guy I know ended up with a really old woman. He was able to get someone. But take a guy who's short, awkward, bad social skills, who has just been kind of, cruising because of this relationship that was formed in specific circumstances. What's going to happen? Not to mention all the guys who haven't even had that contextual relationship. So when you deny the black pill and you say, why do we have all these problems? And you just deny it and say, I saw some exceptions because this guy, that guy in a relationship are married. You're missing the point. It's a lot larger than that. Okay? And unfortunately, as long as people are trying to defend their egos and their own sense of self-worth ahead of trying to look at reality in something of a neutral way, this is going to continue. Now, still you might say, Goldberg, how do you explain these, people who don't have resources, that they're in a relationship? Well, David Buss tells us that sometimes a guy can compensate for a lack of looks or maybe money by making over-the-top declarations of commitment to a woman. Oh, I love you till the end of time. Together or not, you're always in my bank account. You can make those things even as a younger man, and she might say, well, I'll stick with him because for the long haul, I can rely on him to do things. I can shape him to be my mule. But if you think about, what are you doing? What are you having to put forward in order to have access to this woman, right? The relationship thing. I'll give you an example from my own life. The girl that I recently broke up with. When I met her, she was a virgin, fairly conservative background. Things worked out okay, but it was always a heightened need to reach another threshold of commitment demonstration. So, even though I think it's cringe, I'll give some ground on holding hands, giving her hugs, that kind of stuff I think is a little bit silly when it's required almost like a routine as opposed to when it's really genuine. But I'm like, okay, that stuff's fine, but they want something more. Oh, we have to take a lot of selfies. We have to be Facebook official, which I don't have Facebook, thank God. They want you to go out. Oh, you have to come and meet my friends. They have to approve of you. And by the way, guys, her friends will always ruin a relationship. Guarantee you. I've never met friends who weren't toxic in that regard. Or they will suggest that she stays over or that she moves in because that's a way for her to say, now I'm in your life on a regular basis. You have to put up with my bad behavior and, sloppiness, lack of hygiene. I can also keep track of what you're doing and I can start reorganizing your life from the bottom up. She may start talking about wanting to have a baby. I mean, even this chick who was somewhat careerist in the sense that she wanted to be a doctor would still push that a lot. Why? A kid is a way they can kind of lock you down because they figure you're going to stay if you guys have a kid together. And I've actually theorized, tell me what you guys think about this. Peter Hitchens was talking in The Abolition of Britain that, the old fertility cults, people would worship the phallus or worship the valley of life, if you will. But obviously back then, you would reproduce. Unless you couldn't afford to keep the kid, you would reproduce. We have a modern culture that worships sex, but there's not really the outcome, which is life. So we're almost worshiping sterile, sterile, purposeless activity, pure pleasure, I suppose. If a girl has an IU or you're using rubber johnnies and you are in a relationship for a while, I wonder if she sort of subconsciously starts feeling that you're impotent and that she has to find someone else because you're not making her pregnant. In fact, in the old country, like where my family's from some days in the past, when you married a girl, it was an expectation that you would make her pregnant within the first year. Otherwise, people would start whispering, oh, he maybe has a problem. So these signs of commitment and whatnot they're very significant. You think you're in a relationship, it's no big deal. Well, she's going to keep demanding stuff of you to show that you're doing all this, and you are going to have to give ground or she's going to walk away. And a lot of these dudes, they're terrified of her walking away because they know that they will be an incel. They don't want to deal with this current dating market, the apps, the difficulty of finding women who are even approachable. Why do you think the MGTOWs, remember the bald cells? Why do you think they exist? Those dudes weren't angry about feminism. They were upset because they came out of a marriage, had very low SMV, and the only thing they could get was a fat single mom. And they were angry for those reasons, not the fact that some women are crazy or, some women are on welfare, fundamentally. Now, moving on to marriage. Bus tells us that you can gather a lot of resources, be good at making money, and some women will say, okay, I'll go with him. Although there is documentation where women will find a guy who makes good money but cheat with a guy who's got better looks for the genes for the baby. Not saying that always happens, but you're still having to compensate for not being good looking, right? And she perceives you in a certain light. So a friend of mine, I think I brought up before, he's a decent looking normie. He married an attractive Hispanic single mom. But you ask yourself, would she have been interested in him if she didn't have a 4 or 5-year-old kid? And now, oh, I need a kind of man who can support me so I don't have to work the rest of my days. Recently, a girl started giving eyes to me, this Latina, pretty cute. Latinas will always do this kind of bedroom eyes and smile thing to make you somewhat put in a trance. So I'm talking with her, of course, comes out she has a kid. And I'm thinking, would you really be interested in Goldberg if you didn't see him as a guy who's got a stable job, a house, a couple of cars, and maybe I can remove you from the misery of having to work full time and then take care of your child? So you're saying, oh, do you really value me for me, or do you value me for what I can give you beyond companionship or, whatever physical stimulation? You're valuing me because I have resources or because I can help you deal with a problem you created with someone else. You don't have to be paranoid, my friends. You just have to be a realist so you don't get used. That's all I'm saying. But many of these anti-black pillars would rather have their head shoved up their ass and end up, walking off a cliff just to be able to say, yeah, the world's great, peaches and roses, it's all fantastic. Thinking about weddings in particular, this is a good example of an American wedding, or right here. This is probably the modern iteration. Got the front pouch and the big ass, I suppose. Why? Why do I have to be exposed to this? It's really sad. Um, these people who use Oofy Doofy will say stuff like, yeah, Oofy Doofies get married. Chad ends up being an incel. And you're going, okay, let's stop and consider. Do you even know what marriage is in the Western world, right? We're not living in Wahhabi Islam, Arabia. You're living in the Western world. What is marriage fundamentally? Marriage, as I talked about, I think in the video Banking Mate Points, it's a desperate show, just like we talked about all that trying to demonstrate commitment. It's a desperate sign that you're willing to commit. Look, please don't stop having sex with me. I will put a ring on it. I will write the contract. I will co-sign all these assets over to you and let you organize my life as long as you stay and have sex with me. That's not an indication of, oh yeah, I've beaten the black pill. That means it's very black pilled in reality because you can't just walk away, you know? That's the real truth. And, in sickness and health, you have to support this person and their offspring, even if you split up in most cases, unless she really out earns you, which there's no guarantee of that. And you can't really enforce a prenuptial that says she has to stay having sex with you because she can withdraw affection, she can gain weight. And what are you going to do? Oh, I'm going to irreconcilable differences. You're still going to probably end up paying. I hate to tell you that right there. So marriage is very black pill. When people try to claim that a guy got married, therefore the black pill is inaccurate, well, see what happens to that dude. And see what happens. Not that I'm hoping it on anyone. I'm not sadistic, but if your relationship or your marriage fails and you've been together a while and now you have to walk back into the dating market and see how much you're going to be denying the black pill because you're going to see it all over the place. I can say this honestly, like I'm single. I've tried the dating apps. They're still pretty much a graveyard. I see women that I saw like 5 or 6 years ago still on the same app active. It's sad. Um, in person is a little bit better, and I have options at work, but of course work, you got to be careful because you got to make sure they actually like you and they're not just being friendly. So these are serious questions. And are you going to have some exceptions here or there? Absolutely. But usually those exceptions match up with another aspect: looks, money, status, or as I said in my book, contracts, getting married. There's reasoning behind it. And just stop pretending, oh, it doesn't apply to you, because again, it could get you in trouble. And this is about protecting you, not making you paranoid, but just giving you kind of that knowledge to where you don't get taken advantage of, manipulated. I myself am presently employing it to a certain extent because I've been talking to this pretty attractive, I think she's Muslim, but I have to make sure, is she seeing me as someone she's interested in, or maybe she's being banged out by Chad and she's like, oh, he's a good listener, right? Because there are women that'll use that. They'll put you in a category and say, oh, he's like nice to talk to or whatnot. This is real. Human beings tend to be brutally, I don't know if utilitarian or really it's transactional. That's how they tend to be even with each other. It's sad, but there's much truth to it. When you were 18 and you just wanted to bang a chick, are you thinking about, yeah, love and marriage? No, you're probably just focused on, okay, I want to get laid. So you have that argument. That's your motivation. People tend to be that way. The key is arm yourself with the right knowledge and then go out and experience the world and have a good time, but be smart so you're not just, sending yourself overboard because at least I have a positive mindset. Just saying.